Here's the deal. Since January 1st, the Thunder and the Pacers have been the two best teams in the NBA, with the Thunder going 53-13 and the Pacers holding a 46-18 record in that span. The Thunder and Pacers rank first and second in points per game off turnovers this postseason. OKC is averaging nearly 24 points off turnovers, with the Pacers right behind with over 18. The young stars will be on display with an average combined age of 26.3, my age, when weighted by playing time. Nobody laughed. According to Elias, that is the second youngest age for an NBA Finals matchup in the shot clock era. All right, let's break this down. Stephen A., you've been covering the finals for quite some time. What stands out to you most about these particular finals?
Well, the elite defensive prowess of the Oklahoma City Thunder combined with its youth. I mean, this is just a bunch of fresh legs like piranhas coming after you. They just come at you in droves. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams can guard. They not just can score. And Shai Gilgeous is not just a superstar. Shea Butter, as Shanae affectionately calls him sometimes. But you look at a guy like Caruso coming off the bench, Casey Wallace coming off the bench. You look at Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, who can play defense and really patrol your front court. You got other guys like the other Jalen Williams coming off the bench, along with a few others. Everywhere you turn, they go about 9, 10 deep. And nobody takes off defensively. That's the thing that's so impressive about the Oklahoma City Thunder. They can beat you ugly. They can beat you in a low-scoring game. Somehow, some way, no matter what your offensive prowess may entail, they have the ability to neutralize you. I saw them with Ant-Man basically putting forth a matchup zone and making it look like a man-to-man. But it wasn't a man-to-man. Everywhere he turned, there was two dudes on him with a third spying him, waiting for him to go in a certain direction or make a commitment before you had 6 hands, clawing at him. When Jokic was going up against them in the semifinals, you saw an Alex Caruso clearly undersized against him, but fronting him and battling him at every turn. Even when he was behind him, the second Jokic put the ball on the floor, there was 6 hands all over the place. Michael Porter got hobbled. Aaron Gordon got hobbled. It didn't matter. They have no mercy on you defensively. They come at you in droves. And so to me, that's what stands out. Primarily their wing defenders, because we know in a finals matchup like this, guard play is going to rule the day. Who's going to be successful in that regard? We see how important Haliburton is. We understand Nesmith and Nembhard and what level of importance they can have. Pascal Siakam being a formidable foe to deal with. But in the end, the amount of tenacious, rabid bodies that they can throw at you just seems to be a bit overwhelming for anybody in the league. So I'm hoping it's going to be an entertaining series, that Indiana will figure out and find a way to put points up on the board to make it interesting. But it's just hard to imagine that anybody's going to be able to do that continuously against these young bunch of piranhas coming at you who hang their hat on defense. And they say no matter what we're doing offensively and no matter how much we struggle, we going to make sure you don't beat us. That's their attitude, and that's the attitude that champions are made of.
You know why I love this matchup, Stephen A.? It's because you spoke for the first few minutes of this show, this amazing program, about defense. That shows me that basketball is back. That shows me that this NBA Finals represents the best of basketball. Because for so long, we've oscillated between, all right, what's the way to make the NBA entertaining? We see the outpouring of offense, but now defense, we're back in the middle. And I love it. I absolutely love it, because this is representing the two best teams in basketball at this moment. And if you think about it, what you mentioned about the Thunder, I mean, last year, the best record in the West. This year, the best record in the NBA. This year, they have the guy that led the league in scoring and is the MVP. This year, they have the best defense. Now you're going up against a team that has had a sensational, stellar record in the Pacers since January 1. You're going up against a team that has caught lightning in a bottle. You're going up against a team with Tyrese Haliburton, who has made the impossible possible with what they did, I'm so sorry, Stephen A., to your New York Knicks. If you look at what this NBA Finals represents, it's extremely wholesome to true basketball purists. You have one side that is, you know how they say styles make fights. one side whose style is defensive. They can really generate and force turnovers. You have another side whose style is offensive. They have a beautiful system. You have two different stars. If you are a basketball fan, you will love this series. Now, hopefully they make it a series, but regardless, I love what I'm seeing so far, with the idea of where these teams have come from and now what they represent in this moment.
Yeah, Chiney, I think it's absolutely fascinating. This is the classic Styles Makes Fights NBA Finals matchup. You're talking about what has been the best offense in the NBA since January 1st in the Indiana Pacers, going up against the best defense in the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think an extra layer in terms of intrigue when it comes to this particular matchup is that this is the youngest average age combined of two teams in the NBA Finals since 1977. That's how far back you got to go. The second year of the NBA-ABA merger in terms of being able to find a younger average age of the two teams matching up to compete for it all. And so I think when we point out the youth and the athleticism for the Oklahoma City Thunder, we also have to talk about the youth and the style of play for the Indiana Pacers. And my man Joe Fortenbaugh had the best point about how Indiana likes to play. They weaponize cardio unlike any other team in the NBA. When you look at the average amount of distance traveled for the players in any particular game, when you look at the average speed of all of their players in any given game, they get up and down the court like nobody else's business. Per 100 possessions in the Eastern Conference Finals, they scored 126 points. So that's going to be fascinating to see how the Indiana Pacers try to utilize their same approach when it comes to playing with overall pace against a much younger group in the Oklahoma City Thunder in terms of what the Pacers have been accustomed to as they move through the Eastern Conference playoffs. So I think that's what makes this series so fascinating. And just a little add-on to this, being able to contend with the double big lineup, I think that's something that Indiana is going to have a problem with. The obvious solution to that for Rick Carlisle is playing with a little more pace.
Money man.
Let's go to what you talked about with pace with the Indiana Pacers, CC, because here's the deal. I'm looking at these guys. First of all, you got to have depth if you're going to play at a high pace. And remember, Indiana runs after made baskets by the opposition. They push the ball up the floor all the time. The Thunder, they've got 9 players averaging at least 10 minutes a game. You've got Indiana Pacers. They've got 9 players averaging more than 14 minutes per game. This is what we're talking about here. And I'm looking at their offensive efficiency. They're second in offensive efficiency. First in field goal percentage, mid-range field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, and field goals on wide open shots. Indiana is number 1 throughout this postseason. Why does that matter? Because if you're the Thunder, 5 points per game more off turnovers than any other team in the playoffs. They're averaging 23.8 points off turnovers per game this postseason, accounting for 20% of their scoring, while the Pacers are conceding an NBA low 12.5 points off of turnovers. So Tyrese Haliburton, what is his trick? What is his skill set? He's a pass-first guy. He looks for the open man. He's the engine that stirs the cup, really gets your offense going, etc. And he doesn't usually turn over the ball. Are the Oklahoma City Thunder going to be able to force this dude to turn over the ball? Because if he's turning over the ball, they've got no chance. Tyrese Haliburton is the key to this series being a series. If this brother comes to play, you're talking potentially about a 7-game series. If he don't show up against these piranhas that are clearly coming from him because they're smart enough to know who he is and what he brings to the table, if Tyrese Haliburton doesn't show up, Indiana might get swept. Now, I don't see that happening. I got this series going 6 games, but I'm telling you, they're going to be all over him. I watched these brothers against Minnesota. I've watched these brothers against Denver, okay? I've watched them, and I'm saying, my God, the way these cats come at you. I'm looking at Indiana, and I'm like, Indiana Pacers is the NBA Finals. But y'all do understand who y'all going up against. Y'all going up against cats that get off the bus ready to D up. They want to guard you in the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? They don't even want to wait till they get to the basketball court. That's who the hell the Oklahoma City Thunder are. You've got to be ready for these brothers because Indiana ain't going to hang his head on the defense. And last point, CC, when you talk about Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, here's another key component. And Chiney, I really want to hear if you agree with this. I think Miles Turner is a key. Because if Miles Turner steps away from the basket, see, you couldn't have to worry about that with Mitchell Robinson, but Miles Turner can hit some free throws. And oh, by the way, he can step away from the basket and hit threes. If he's hitting threes, you got to come out and guard him. And if you got to come out and guard him, well, then who's going to be on the front line? He's the key. Haliburton and Miles Turner, keys.
I have a different key, but I do think that is an X factor because if you think about in the Western Conference Finals with Anthony Edwards, you had everyone guarding him, like you said, everybody and their mama off the bus because you didn't have bigs that showed up and that could shoot. You had Gobert that was played off the floor at times. You have Naz Reid who wasn't consistent, but now Turner will challenge in the same way that people hoped Karl Anthony Towns would challenge this bigs because the bigs are ascending. So you're right, Stephen A. I actually have a different X factor, but we'll probably save that a little later.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the first player to win MVP and reach the finals in the same season since Steph Curry in 2016. SGA has 10 games this postseason with at least 30 points and 5 assists, one shy of tying the record. Meanwhile, Tyrese Haliburton averaging nearly 19 points a game while leading the NBA this postseason with almost 10 assists per game. Here's SGA on that Hali matchup.
At the end of the day, every team has a few guys that are their best players, are their main engines and get the ball rolling for them. And those guys have strengths, and those guys have things that they're, I guess you can say, less comfortable doing. And the better the guys are, the harder it is to do so. But if you want to win, you have to be able to make those guys play in the things that they're less comfortable doing. And that's what the task always is, no matter who it is.
Okay, Chiney, here's what I need to know from you. Which point guard stock rises the most with a championship?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's hands down, no question about it. Because I'm going to give you two stats that he has the opportunity to join these exclusive clubs. One, he could become the first MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP, and Finals MVP. We know he's going to walk out there and get you a 30-piece. Also, he could join the exclusive club of winning a scoring title. He averaged 32 points per game in the regular season on top of an NBA championship in the same season. That puts you in the category of Michael Jordan, Shaq, Qerim Abdul-Jabbar, Mikan, and Joe Fultz. Like a very, very exclusive club he has the opportunity to enter. And also, I know the last week we've been debating on, is Tyrese Haliburton, is Jalen Brunson, is SGA a superstar? If he finishes things out the next 2 weeks, he absolutely is a certified superstar in my eyes. Stephen A., you and I, we spent plenty of time in Oklahoma City. It is a lovely place. The fans love this man because of what he has built and what he has represented the last few years. You know how they have the saying, they got it out the mud, got it out the mud? This is a team that has got it out the mud. They have developed talent. They have built a winning culture, and he is literally the face of it, being an MVP in OKC. So the way I see this is, as great as Tyrese Haliburton is going to be, this moves SGA into the upper echelon of the NBA. The way we talk about Nikola Jokic being a champion and also building and being the new face of a franchise. Giannis being a champion. He is in that special club of superstar if he's able to win not only the finals, but also finals MVP.
Chiney, all of your points are well taken. I see this one a little bit differently. I think Tyrese Haliburton is the one that has the most upside when we're comparing the two superstars, the 2 point guards in this series. And here's the reason why. I think most people look at SGA as a top 5 player in the NBA right now, considering what he was able to do, but also how his productivity has led to team success. Conversely, Tyrese Haliburton was the guy before the season that everybody was talking about, couldn't get off the pine for the Olympic team that won gold in Paris over the summer. He's also the guy that was voted most overrated players by his peers in the NBA coming into this season. So it's been a bit of a scorched earth tour for Tyrese Haliburton this year. And when you consider the top 10 players, when we're having that conversation of the top 10 players in the NBA in any given season, it doesn't seem like his name is top of mind. Now, he may ultimately end up in people's top 10s, but he's always one of those guys that's floating inside, outside. I think a win for Tyrese Haliburton, being such a huge underdog in this series, would speak volumes about the caliber of player that he is. Yeah, he's not a guy that's averaging north of 20 points per game, but his overall impact on his team winning, what he does, being the engine for the best offense in the NBA, I think it changes his profile dramatically. Similar to what we saw for Dwayne Wade in 2006 when he won a championship with Shaquille O'Neal, but he was universally looked at as the best player on that team, and that was the foundation for a dynastic run for the Miami Heat. I think we could be talking about something very similar in terms of Tyrese Haliburton's profile moving forward if he wins the chip this year.
Well, a couple of things before I move on to answer this question. You brought up Dwayne Wade. There was another reason that he was looked upon that way, CC, and that's because he was the best player on the team. And not only that, it was the aftermath of Kobe Shaq. And so what we saw from Dwayne Wade was be Kobe-esque. We saw Shaquille O'Neal in the finals against Indiana foul out of a game, and everybody's nervous, and Kobe goes over to him and said, "I got you, big bro, don't even worry about it," and took the hell over, okay, and propelled the Lakers to victory, and they ultimately won the championship. Fast forward years later, they down 0-2 to Dallas, and D. Wade said, "I got this," and took the hell over, and was averaging over 37 the rest of the series, and propelled Miami to a championship, and Pat Riley to his championship. So that's what it was, Kobe-esque. That's why Dwayne Wade elevated to that point. I agree with you, Canty. Shanae, all your points are valid. I get where you're coming from. There's nothing to dissent about in terms of the credentials that you bring to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm proud of the brother. I voted for him for league MVP this year. I voted for him for MVP last year when Jokic got it. I thought the brother was sensational and has been the league MVP the last 2 years. He's just next level. That is what I will say about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Here's where the argument gets punctured a bit, Janae. Did y'all know that Jalen Williams is second team all defense? Anybody remember that? I mean, we talk about this dude as a star caliber talent. He just needs to be more consistent. But the brother is not a scrub. I got on him about being critical about him because I'm saying, yo, coming into the playoffs, OKC gonna win the championship. He got to show up because he didn't show up when it counted last year against Dallas. But the fact is, the brother can ball. He can play. He's good for 17 to 20 a night. Okay, he's got a J, he's got a three, he can finish at the basket, he can get to the hole, he can perform in the open court. The brother's a package, but he also is second team all defense, okay? We look at the rest of the cats, Hartenstein, Caruso, Holmgren, Wallace, the rest of the crew, Dortmund. This is an elite defensive team. That's who Shai has backing him up. What does Haliburton have backing him up? Their success is almost entirely dependent on what they bring offensively. And he is the engine for their offense. So if this brother, being the engine of the offense, as CC pointed out, being labeled overrated by some hating-ass contemporaries, lying their asses off, because there's no way on earth that he should have been overrated, okay? But you labeled him overrated, okay? And the brother comes in the playoffs, all right? Takes Milwaukee out, takes Cleveland out, takes the New York Knicks out because they were the better team than the New York Knicks, period, okay? Takes the New York Knicks out, and then he's in the finals. And this is who you got to go against, the number one team in the NBA that won 68 games, that has been tops in every defensive category imaginable. Plus, they got a cat playing your position who is the league MVP and a superstar top 5 player in this game. And you go in against all those odds and you knock him off for the chip? Oh, Lord, I don't know how much more of an upgrade you can get than that. So I'm going to go with Haliburton being the answer to this question.